Y'all black Democrats love to quote Malcolm X when it's beneficial to y'all. But why nobody post about this Malcolm? The ballot or the bullet Malcolm? The Malcolm that called black voters political chumps for giving loyalty to politicians that only show up during election season. Watch this carefully.
The Democrats have been in Washington, D.C. only because of the Negro vote. They've been down there 4 years. And all other legislation they wanted to bring up, they brought it up and gotten it out of the way, and now they bring up you. And now they bring up you. You put them first and they put you last. Because you're a chump. A political chump. In Washington, D.C., in the House of Representatives, there are 257 who are Democrats. Only 177 are Republicans. In the Senate, there are 67 Democrats. Only 33 are Republicans. The party that you bash controls 2/3 of the House of Representatives and the Senate, and still they can't keep their promise to you, because you're a chump. Anytime you throw your weight behind a political party that controls 2/3 of the government, and that party can't keep the promise that it made to you during election time, and you're dumb enough to walk around continuing to identify yourself with that party, you're not only a chump, but you're a traitor to your race.
Now, is Malcolm X a sellout? Was he tap dancing when he said this? This is why people get uncomfortable when we start talking about political leverage. Malcolm wasn't telling people to become Republican. He was telling us to stop giving away our vote for free. Now, who's the traitor and who's the chump?
Man, this brother is absolutely right. And Brother Malcolm, 62 years ago, those words couldn't ring more truer today than they did way back then, almost 6 decades ago. I'm going to showcase some people out there that are continuing to tap dance for the Democrat Party. They want you to stay on that Democrat plantation. And instead of just saying, you know what, we are going to have to compete based off of ideas, policies, and agenda. No, woe is me. It's white supremacy. And that's the reason why these districts, are the way they are. When in all actuality, when you look at these blue no matter who districts, the way they gerrymander them up, they're some of the poorest places in the country. The academic system is some of the worst in the country. So all you get is representation. You don't get anything tangible. All they tell you is you are afforded Democrat representation, which we know they have zero interest in actually improving the lives of the constituents in these districts. They prey on low voter turnout and low IQ voters. That's what the Democrats want. Hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel. 50% of you guys that are watching the channel are not subscribed. Change that today. Hit that daggone subscribe button. It costs you nothing. Let's go.
So more, we've talked about just sort of the political reality of it all.
Yeah.
And I do think, I always thought that this would end up hurting Republicans at the end if they got their wish. But let's talk about the other side of it, which is, of course, the Civil Rights Act gutted yet again. This has been the rights dream since the Civil Rights Act was passed.
Yeah, I mean, I think to Jonathan's point, we actually don't know what this means for the national Republican or Democratic Party overall. That's going to play out. What we do know so far is that Black political power in the South and therefore in the country has been severely diluted and kneecapped. And that's both in terms of representation, so the ability of these voters under Section 2 to choose someone who often happen to be Black, but not always, as is the case with Representative Stephen Cohen in Memphis. But also in terms of the voting bloc. So I think it's really important that even though what Jonathan says has a lot of truth to it, it's also true that because of the gutting of the Voting Rights Act, these voting blocks have been split, not in two necessarily, but fractured, which actually makes it very difficult to have a moderating effect, likely, on these other districts. So it's going to be hard in Tennessee, for example, looking at the map. Black voters might be 20% of a district that is overwhelmingly MAGA. Mm-hmm. That's not really going to help them get fair representation.
we just want to speak on Memphis. I just want to speak on Memphis, to where 22% of the Memphis's population is at or below the poverty rate. 28% of the kids that graduate high school aren't reading or doing math on grade level. Whatever representation this young lady is talking about, it isn't working. They've had control for 51 years, and they've shown that they could care less about the population. They could care less. And to be honest with you, I think it is past time for Black people and the people of District 9 and so many other districts around this country that has been gerrymandered based off of race to get something different. It's past time. Past time for it.
Everyday people know that the system is stacked against them. They know it in their bones, and they don't always have the words, that we want to use.
They know it. Do they feel like they can change it?
They feel it. Yeah, I think that's that's the thing. Do people feel empowered to change it? And I do think that there are a lot of people who feel powerless, which is why they signed up for Donald Trump. You asked me that question earlier. Let me answer it more directly. I think that there are people, and I do think it's overstated. Donald Trump didn't have this whole huge slew of Black men voting for them. And I think part of that was a game they played during the election in 24. I think they were trying to create a permission structure, a bandwagon, so people would jump on it. But there were no overwhelming. It was one is too many, but there weren't overwhelming numbers of Black men voting for Donald Trump.
He literally received more of the Black vote than any other Republican. You'd have to go back to Eisenhower. You'd have to go back 60, almost 70 years. What is this guy talking about? This is just wishful thinking. When you look at the fact that in 2024, the number was 20, I think the number was like 28% of Black Americans supported President Donald Trump. And then after the election, there was a slew of Black women and Black men that came out and was like, man, I regret voting for Kamala Harris. I wish I would have voted for President Trump. And now when you look at the polls, it's also stating that, hey, you have more Black Americans in line with the Republican Party's policy and agenda than the Democrat Party's policy and agenda. Those are just the facts. And when you got people like Raphael Warnock, who is supposed to be a Christian, who is supposed to be a reverend, pastor, minister, whatever you want to call them, but yet they support things that are antithetical to the word of God, people are actually starting to wake up and realize, like, wait, what are we doing? Why are we continuing to support these people when they don't do anything for us? They are anti-God, anti-America, because he's one of those people that decided to sit down when the president asked, are you for American citizens over illegal immigrants? So what people are starting to realize is that the Democrat Party, it's a net negative for America. And if they ever get their way, and if they ever get their way, it's going to push us towards the one world government that they would like to have implemented by 2030. President Trump said this, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago. He said, it's not really me that they want. It's you that they want. I'm standing in the way. And he's slowing down their progress of what they ultimately want is that one world government. Raphael Warnock's a clown. He's a hypocrite, and he's one of the sellouts out there that we continue to talk about on this platform.
My grandparents are Black, all 8 of my great-grandparents, all 16 of my great-greats. On my mother's side, my ancestors were enslaved in Alabama. On my father's side, we were enslaved in Texas. I am not oppressed. I'm not oppressed, and I'm not a victim. I'm neither oppressed nor a victim. I travel all across this country of ours, and I check into hotels, and I fly commercially, and I walk into retail establishments, and I order food in restaurants. I go wherever I want, whenever I want. I am treated with kindness, dignity, and respect, literally from coast to coast. I have 3 children. They are not oppressed either, although they are victims. I've taught my children they are victims of 3 things: their own ignorance, their own laziness, and their own poor decision making. That is all. My children, we are not victims of America. We are not victims of some unseen 190-year-old force that kind of floats around in the ether. Putting critical race theory into our classrooms is taking our nation in the wrong direction. Racism in America would by and large be dead today if it were not for certain people and institutions keeping it on life support.
He's absolutely right. Thomas Sowell said, hey, racism isn't dead, but it's definitely on life support. And Democrats are doing everything that they can to keep it alive and well. That's why they throw out these old tropes, Jim Crow 2.0 and you know, white supremacy and so forth and so on. When if you actually really think about it, most people live around most people. The neighborhood that I live in currently, we have all types of people. It's a diverse neighborhood. The neighborhood that I moved from in Maryland was a diverse neighborhood. We had all types of people come from all walks of life. And I'm not saying that we, you know, we all thought the same, but what I am saying is that we lived in the same community and we had the same issues. We're all dealing with the same things because we live in the same community. We're sending our kids to the same schools. We're dealing with the same property taxes, the same taxes, so forth and so on. Democrats think that it's okay to continue to gerrymander based on racial divides, but in all actuality, most people live amongst most people in this day and age, and you would be hard pressed to find someone that would be nasty to you just because of how much or how little melanin you have. Now, we've seen people be nasty to each other for a multitude of other reasons, though. I had that happen to me today on the highway. Lord have mercy.
So I was just sitting here thinking, all the black people that's in position that has their own practices and their own things, they should only hire more of them, right? I was just watching this video of the beautiful video of a bunch of black nurses and black doctors, you know what I mean? And I was like, yeah. Now I know it's gonna be a little harder to like do, but we need to do that. Yeah, bring that discrimination, segregation shit. Bring it back. I support it 100%.
You know, if a white person were to jump on the internet and post a video like this, the internet would be having an absolute field day with it, telling them how racist and everything that they were. The double standard, it exists and it's wild. You know what? She's not the only person to say something like this and then post a video like this on the internet. And I've just gotten to the point where, look, I don't want to be in spaces where I'm not welcomed, and nobody else should want to be in spaces where they're not welcomed. And so if you want to bring back segregation, okay. But rather than doing it by race, how about doing it by people with values and morals versus people who don't have values? You
know what? I can actually get with this young lady. I've been saying this quite some time, that it's really not about, you know, race in the sense of how much or how little melanin you have. It's really people are being divided based off of ideology. They're being based off of divided based off beliefs. And we were told that this was going to happen. You know, Jesus said, I didn't come to bring peace, but I came to divide, you know. You know, he's going to place, you know, mother against daughter and father against son, you know, because it's really going to be based off ideology and belief systems. I personally don't have a lot in common, you know, with ghetto hood people of any ilk, you know, whether they're, you know, white, black or other. I don't want to be around them. Don't have much in common. We don't have a whole lot to converse about, to be honest with you. You know, but, you know, someone that's a follower in Christ, that's a law abiding citizen that believes in the Second Amendment the way that I do, maybe they vote red or you know, they are conservative or something along those lines. We actually have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to converse about in all actuality. And that's not to say that I can't step across the aisle and speak to people that, you know, may or may not have my belief system, because I think that we are supposed to be disciples. And when people have questions and things of that nature, we should be able to have civil discourse. I think that's extremely important. And that's how, you know, you eventually or could, you know, attempt to sway people to your side of thinking. But I'm with this young lady here. You know, no, we don't need to divide based off of race, but hey, we could divide based off of, you know, thoughts and ideas and behavior. We could definitely look into doing that. And in reference to the sister that's talking about we need to divide based off segregation. Could you imagine, you know, a white person, an Asian person, Hispanic person saying that, hey, we only want to hire Hispanics. We only want to hire Asians. We only want to hire whites. Could you imagine them saying that? I mean, they're losing their minds right now based off of the people in Arkansas that decided they bought land and they said, hey, on the land that we purchased, we only want white people on the land. They're trying to do the same thing up in Pennsylvania. And Democrats and black folks are losing their minds because white people are saying that, hey, we don't want to live around y'all. And they're upset about that. But yet you got this lady here who thinks that, oh, there's a few black doctors who may own their practices. They should only hire black people, which whatever. I think you should be able to hire whoever the heck you want to hire if you put your money out there and you risk your bread to start a business. I'm personally okay with that. But to come out here and say something like that, I think is crazy. And it is a double standard, because what we're seeing people like Justin Pearson and others get away with things that, if white people were to do, it would be on the front page news, and CNN and MS No One's Watching would be running it and talking about it for the next 2 weeks of the news cycle. Let's just keep it a buck.
Democratic Party will 1000% ostracize strong black men and isolate them. Don't even let them be involved in the thing. But they will champion, support, highlight, and act like they're doing so much work for these performative goofballs, high levels of goofery, absolute morons. And we got this guy here shucking a jive, tap dancing, skinning and grinning. You remind me of Man, Tan, and Sleeping Neat from the classic Spike Lee film, Bamboozle. Just doing anything to just get the attention. And it's just so performative, weak, and just amazingly disgusting to anybody that has any principles. You didn't catch the Holy Ghost. You didn't solve anything. You're pretending like black people don't have the ability to vote now. It's just all back-to-back performances. Main Man is the male version of Jasmine Crockett. And anybody that disagrees with me, put it in the comment section. You're wrong, but I like to hear people that's wrong out too. Every so often, you might say something that's interesting.
He's absolutely right. This dude is the male version of Jasmine Crockett. I said it earlier today. And when you start talking about, the Voters' Right Act of 1965, no one is losing their ability to vote. No one is. When you think about that, it created to enforce the 15th Amendment, which protects the right to vote regardless of race. And Voters' Rights Act of 65 is still being upheld to this day. It banned the literary test. There's no literacy test coming back. That's not happening. It prohibited racial discrimination in voting. There's no racial discrimination, coming back when it comes to voting. Simple as that. It's not happening. And it also allowed the federal government to oversee voter registration and elections in areas with the history of discrimination. So when they come out here and say, oh man, this is disenfranchising black people, what they're really saying is that it's forcing the Democrat Party to have to compete for the vote.
When you are seeing states like Tennessee want to wipe out every black representative on the map in these states, we have an obligation as Americans to stand with black Americans and communities whose representation is being disenfranchised.
I wanted to show you guys this because that's what Democrats will continue to tell you. They will continue to say that, hey, this is Jim Crow 2.0. The dude to the right is Representative Cohen, who is currently the District 9 congressional representative out there in Memphis. The lady to the left is Charlotte Bergman, who is currently running for that seat as a Republican. They say she has a 75% chance of winning said seat out there. As you can see, the man to the right happens to be a white man. You can see the sister to the left happens to be a black woman. Where is the disenfranchisement there? Other than the fact that I guess they won't get a Democratic candidate in this area anymore. But there will be a black woman in there. She'll just so happen that she is a conservative. She is a Republican. I'd love to get her on the show. I did reach out to her. We'll see, if she responds or if her people respond and we can get her on the show. I would love to have a conversation with her and just pick her brain, about everything that has transpired, over the past week or two, her campaign, as well as her plans for District 9 in that Memphis area. I'd love to hear what she has to say about it. I've been trying to find, some interviews. I haven't seen anything.
You see what happened in Tennessee yesterday when they got rid of last so-called majority black district, that one dude with the afro, man, acting fool, talking all that, can't bust a grape, right? He wanted somebody to knock his out, but he can't bust a grape, but he talking all that, crying and bitching about a district. In an all-black district, they want segregation, man. But I guarantee you, they couldn't tell us one thing in the last 20, 30 years that so-called majority black district has done good for black people in Memphis, Tennessee. Have you heard about Memphis, Tennessee? Have you heard anything good come out of Memphis, Tennessee? Fuck no. But they still crying about representation. What, symbolic? What has they done? What are these so-called majority black districts that ran by black people and white Democrats? What? Not a thing. Nothing in Memphis is good, man. There's some good people in Memphis, but you know, I'm talking about the government. Memphis ran by, they have a black mayor, black city council, black everything in Memphis. And look at it, they still crying. They want a representation for what? Look at the schools in Chicago, all that black representation. They got Baltimore. I think on the west side of Baltimore, all them boarded up buildings. The streets look like shit. But yet they keep crying about some black representation for what? They don't give up about black people, none of these people. None of these Democrats, they just want to win. They just want to vote. Oh, Jim Crow, they taking it off right. Good. Good. All these southern states should be red as red can be. We don't need no Democrats down here in the South. Take y'all ass up north. Up north. What has a majority black district? Give me one advantage of having a black person running that district. What advantages? Nothing.
Nothing. There is an advantage. There will never be an advantage. And to be honest with you, it's on purpose. It's by design. It's solely for power. It's not to actually enlighten or uplift the people in those districts. It's not. But let me know what your thoughts are. Hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, turn those notifications on to all so you never miss an upload. Consider joining the ARP family or buy your brother a coffee. That link's in the description box below. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the support. And as always, keep God first. Stay prayed up. We'll catch up with you guys next time. Peace.
It is God who arms me with strength. Yeah, I'm battle ready. He trains my hands for battle. My heart stays steady. But thanks be to God, He gives us the victory. Through my Lord Jesus Christ, it can't live in me. I was down to the dirt, red clay on my shoes, old pain in my shirt, oh so bruised. Then the Lord hit my chest, kicked air from my breath, put power in my step.